Hello and welcome to Dishing Delights. Today I am going to share with you some simple meals from my home kitchen. The first recipe I am going to share with you is a simple meatloaf. For this recipe, you are going to need 1.5 pounds of ground beef, 1 egg, 1 onion, 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of dried breadcrumbs, salt and pepper, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of mustard, a third cup of ketchup, and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. After we chop and prep our onions, we're going to get out a large bowl, and to that bowl we are going to add 1.5 pounds of ground beef, a beaten egg, your onions that are already chopped, a cup of milk, a cup of dried breadcrumbs, some salt and pepper to taste, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 2 tablespoons of mustard. We're also going to add a third cup of ketchup and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now once all of that is mixed, we are going to add it to a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Today instead I'm going to make these in the air fryer, so I'm going to make them into 6 mini meatloafs. The reason that I like to make mini meatloafs is because it is just my husband and I can take 2 or 3 out at a time. Tonight I'm gonna take 3 and I'm gonna cook them, and then I'm gonna put 3 in the freezer for a meal in a few weeks. Now I used to make this recipe and take the mustard, brown sugar, and ketchup and add that as my glaze on top. But a few times I accidentally added those ingredients into the actual meatloaf and we really enjoyed the taste. So now I just add those into the meatloaf, and then on top of the meatloaf, I like to coat it in some ketchup and some barbecue sauce. Now I just got out my air fryer basket and I'm going to form these patties. And once these mini meatloafs are formed, I'm going to put them in the air fryer at 320 degrees for 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, I checked the temp and I just kept putting it in for a few minutes longer until the temp was up to 165. Now that I have set those meatloafs in the air fryer, I am going to form 3 more mini meatloafs, and then I'm going to put those in the freezer. What I did here is I just sprayed this pan with a little bit of cooking spray, and then I set them in the freezer. And then once they were frozen, I honestly didn't check on these for another 2 days, but after 2 days I just popped them out of this pan and into a Ziploc baggie. Now this is a 10-pound box of bacon that I've been working my way through. I'm going to take a chunk of that and I'm going to fry it up for some green beans and mushrooms that I'm going to make later. Now I checked on my meatloaf about halfway through, and then I added a little bit of barbecue sauce on top and just brushed it around. Now that my bacon is fried up, I am going to pull the bacon bits out and I'm going to set that aside. Now to this pot with the bacon grease in it, I'm gonna add 2 cans of drained green beans and a can of drained mushrooms. Now that those are heating up, I'm gonna add some salt, pepper, and a little bit of this Chicago steak seasoning. Now that the bacon bits are added, this dish is completed. Alongside this, I'm just making instant mashed potatoes. These meatloafs cooked to perfection. They were so delicious. With that mini meatloaf, I'm just gonna serve it with that mashed potato and the green bean mixture. This was such a hearty meal. It was absolutely delicious. For this next meal, I'm just gonna make a creamy pasta salad and some garlic Parmesan chicken. Now to start this, I'm just gonna take 2 chicken breasts and this Buffalo Wild Wings Parmesan garlic sauce, and I'm just gonna coat that. And once that's coated, I'm going to let it marinate in my fridge for, I did only about 4 to 6 hours, but you can do it as long as you would like to. Now that I have that setting in the fridge, I'm going to make this creamy pasta salad. The first thing I'm going to do is wash and prep my veggies. Today I decided that I was going to have a red pepper and a couple crowns of broccoli, and I also added some olives to this. As you can see here, I'm watching Philip DeFranco. I must know, what is your favorite thing to do while cooking? I either am always watching a YouTube video or I'm listening to an audiobook. After this, I am going to be making dinner and I'm going to be listening to Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is the best and I'm so excited that she came out with a new book. Alright, because I can't just say that about Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have to recommend my 3 favorite books from her. One True Loves, top notch. Daisy Jones and the Six, that's her best book ever. And then The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is insane. You must read. Alright, I'll get off my soapbox now. Once the veggies are prepped, I'm going to set those all aside, and then I'm going to boil up my pasta. I'm only going to use 8 ounces of macaroni pasta in this, and I also am going to make my dressing. Now for this dressing, I'm going to use a combination of mayonnaise, white wine vinegar, salt, pepper, and some sugar. I'm going to leave the link to this recipe down below because I did tweak it a little bit after I made this. I like to have a lot of this dressing left over because after a day or two it tends to get dry, and if you're using this for like home use and not taking it directly to a party, it is going to dry out quickly. Now that most of my ingredients are prepared, I'm going to set them aside, and then I'm going to cook the pasta according to the pasta package directions. I just have 8 ounces of pasta here. And now that that's cooking, I'm just going to finish up by slicing some olives and some green onions. One minute before that pasta is done, I'm going to add that broccoli to the salted pasta water, and I'm going to let that cook for 1 minute. As you can see, this turns that broccoli the most beautiful green, and then I'm going to drain these. Now is the fun part. I probably should have used a little bit bigger of a bowl, but I just had to take my time stirring this. I'm going to add my macaroni and broccoli. I made sure that that was completely cooled. And then I'm going to add all of my veggies. And then once those are in there, I'm going to take my dressing and I'm going to coat the pasta salad. This was my first creamy macaroni salad. I usually go with potato salad if I'm gonna have a creamier cold salad, but this was absolutely divine. Now, as that macaroni salad sets in the fridge, I am going to take this chicken that I had marinating and I'm going to add it to the slow cooker. This night we decided to go fishing, so I wasn't exactly sure when I was going to be home, so I just set it on low. We ended up being gone for like 6 hours and it was absolutely tender. It was so good. And I just shredded that chicken and then served it alongside the pasta salad. And this was such a great quick meal. For tonight's dinner, I'm gonna make some salmon. We decided to go to a friend's house and grill out, so I just made this seasoning mixture. It's a sweet and spicy mixture. Now to this, I added some brown sugar, chili powder, cumin, salt, pepper, olive oil, and some maple syrup. I'll leave the exact recipe down below. This would be so good on so many things. I want to make it with chicken next, but just coat it on top of the salmon and we let it set for like an hour and a half. This turned out so delicious. Now, as you can see, it's a pretty thick mixture. I just coated it the best I could. By the time that it was ready to grill, it was absolutely just soaked right through that salmon. I have made salmon a dozen different ways, and this is just as good as salmon nuggets. Now, I didn't get any footage of me grilling this, but my husband ended up serving coleslaw on top of his salmon, and him and his friends absolutely loved that. So if I were you, I would serve this alongside coleslaw or with coleslaw on top. I mean, look at that. I don't think I need to say anything more. Make that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It helps your girl out. And stay tuned for another video.